half square triangles today and the many different methods that you can use to make them. I always look at my pattern and how much fabric I have first. That way I know if I want to make them 1 at a time or 4 at a time or 8 at a time. And I know there's a video out there somewhere that's 16 at a time. So for example, if you were going to make this pattern where there's 297 half square triangles, you probably want to do it at least 8 at a time, and I would look for that 16 at a time video. So in the most basic form, for a 2.5 unfinished half square triangle, which means it would finish at 2, you would use 2 pieces of fabric that are 2.5 inches. Draw a line on the lighter fabric and then sew right on the line. And then when you're ready, this is probably not going to get in here, but oh, there we go, maybe. I would put my 1/4 inch line right on the line I sewed, so I have a 1/4 inch over here. So ta-da! 1 2.5 unfinished half square triangle. And if I was just making 1 or 2, I still probably wouldn't do this way. So there's that, and it is 2.5. The next method, because there's, I don't know, 10 or 12 different half square triangle methods you can use. This one uses 2 strips, so if you don't have big squares to make a bunch, you can always use a square. And you, I think this one is 2.5 or so. And I'm staying with a 2.5 inch unfinished and a 2 inch finished. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut a 45-degree angle using my ruler, and then making sure I get that corner off. Okay. So now I have a 45-degree angle here. And I can turn my ruler around and get everybody confused. Or you could just turn it over like this. And I want a 2.5, so I want my 2.5 inch line here. I take that back. I want my 2.5 inch line on my seam line here, and the same with that one. And there's my 2.5 unfinished. So this is good if you have strips and stuff, and you can just keep making by flipping your piece over or your ruler over. And I would cut off that piece. There's my 2.5. Where's my 2.5 over here? Oh, I'm getting screwed up because this is a it's got the extra 1/2 inch here, so there we go. 2.5. 2.5. And so you would just keep going with that. Okay. The next one, and I'm just going to leave this here briefly. There are charts available online for how wide to cut your strip. This one has a minimum cutting, and this one and a max or starting size. And then you would look for your finished size half square triangle or your unfinished in the columns. Then the next one is making half square triangles 4 at a time. And this one I highly recommend that, oh, okay, I'm wrong. This is 2 at a time. And I think most people have done this method. You add 7/8 of an inch or an inch. I usually do an inch. Mark a diagonal line, sew on either side of the line. And then cut on the line, and you have 2 half square triangles at a time, which is pretty nice. And these methods are good for when you're not making that many of them. There's one. And I would square these up because I use an inch, which means they're going to be slightly larger than I need them to be. So you would take your 45-inch line, or 45 degree triangle, and I'm doing this backwards, but, and then just trim these. I'm probably going to knock the camera over with this one, so sorry. And then repeat with the other side. Turn this a little so it's easier. Like I said, I'll probably knock the camera over. So I got the first side, and now I lined it up with a 2.5 inch, and that will take me to where I need to be. And I would do the same thing with the other one. Okay. So then there's the make 4 at a time half square triangles. And this one I would definitely use best press or starch or something, because when you cut these 4 triangles, you will end up with bias edges. Again, these charts are online. Just look up 4 at a time half square triangles, 2 at a time, 1 at a time. On the 4 at a time, you are going to cut whatever size square you need, and then sew a 1/4 inch around the outside of it, and then draw diagonal lines in opposite directions, and then cut on the lines. Like I said, these are bias edges now, so stabilize beforehand. And I would definitely press these. I wouldn't push my iron across the seam at all. I would open it up, finger press it, and then just give them a good press with the iron. Okay, so that's 4 at a time. And the last one I'm going to show today is the